The FIA European Truck Racing Championship is drawing in the clouds along with the GT3s. Of course, the Blancpain Sprint Cup here. A whole host of fans are coming to look at these. You couldn't get vehicles that are more polar opposite. These weigh 5,300 kilograms and can accelerate as fast 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 kilometers an hour if you prefer, as fast as a Porsche 911. There's a little food for thought. And of course, the driving position couldn't be more different if it wanted. And we've got 15 runners out on the circuit. This is their free practice session. And it leads pretty much straight into the Super Pole session that will follow. These are big beasts. Regular road trip, they'd run about 530 brake horsepower. Here, 1,000 horsepower and no trailer to pull. Very, very quick indeed. And if you've never watched truck racing before, feast your eyes on some of the cornering angles they go through. They just do not seem to stay within the realms of the laws of physics. So just trying to get some heat into the tyres, so crucial. All on Goodyear tyres. And Norbert Kiss is the driver they're all looking towards. Truck number 24, his Mercedes-Benz. You can see the weight all at the front. He's the local hero. He's had a good season so far. He's pulled in some good form last round with Slovakia Ring, and he picked up a couple of wins there for the Tank Pool 24 racing team. And certainly he would have added thousands to the gate, because the Hungarians want a driver of their own to cheer on. Adam Leko is the driver who set the pace mid-season from the Czech Republic. He's racing for the Bagheera International Racing Systems team, so a look for him. But fastest in free practice by a margin of 3/4 of a second was Norbert Kiss, the hometown hero. So if you think it's important to get heat into your tyres in a GT3 car, think again. It is, but it's nothing in comparison to how important it is to get heat into the racing rubber on these huge heavy vehicles. They're at the track, but they're still telling their friends at the track that they should be eyes out onto the circuit. These big beasts out to play. 14 and 11, Jose Rodriguez and his brother Eduardo Rodriguez. Sorry, his father Eduardo. Jose is the son. Up from Portugal, but 55. Only sixth fastest, Adam Leko. But I have a sort of feeling that when push comes to shove, when we get to the serious stuff of qualifying, we'll see Adam picking his way up the order. So still waiting for those first flying laps to be set. We talk of Leko, and there he is. A fantastic middle sector of the season where he picks up 6 wins across 2 meetings. Across 6 wins out of 7 races at Misano and the Nürburgring. Very much the form driver, but at Slovakia Ring, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 4th. They have up to 4 races at each of the meetings, and there'll be 4 here at the Hungaroring. And the rumble as the trucks go past for the first time. The screech of the tyres, you can see the trucks really starting to lean into turn 1. Some look better balanced than the others. 55, Adam Leko. That was their out lap. Now they're on the flying lap. Again, just the sheer weight of these trucks have to be very, very serious. And you know how much torque they've got. They've regular road trim, about 480 brake to 530 brake. In race trim, well over 1,000 horsepower. And Newton meters of torque, they've got double their road going comparisons. 5,000 Newton meters of torque. Just think about that. That's sort of a figure of just enormous magnitude. That is why the acceleration is so absolutely mighty. And the grunt out of corners, they're doing what trucks shouldn't be seen to be doing, and being very spectacular with it. So still waiting for those first flying laps to come in. 24, and really kicking it around is the local hero Norbert Kiss. Rumble of trucks, shouting of fans in the grandstand just beneath my commentary box. They're clearly here for the trucks. Hopefully they'll like the nimble and fleeter racing speeds of the Blancpain GT cars. Very different crowds, but great to have this mixture of motor racing. So building up towards the Super Pole session for the FIA European Truck Racing Championship, which will be following straight after this free practice session. Just waiting. See, it takes quite a while to do an out lap and then get that first flying lap on the board. 55 should be the first truck to get to the final corner. Just approaching it now, that's Adam Leko. Nice and tidy. That is the key with these trucks. Yes, you can put them sideways, but you want to keep them in a straight line. When they're that heavy, who's going to be fastest around the lap? Well, Adam Lecco, 2 minutes 19.7. There's your guide on time. 2 minute 19.3 for local hero Norbert Kiss. Tight at the top, in fact 1.3 seconds, and then very close behind truck number 1. That is Jochen Hahn, who was second fastest this morning. So they're way under. They're getting closer on their first flying lap to their best times in free practice number 1. Kiss, Hahn, truck number 44, Stephanie Hahn. So it's not just men that race these trucks, women as well. So 0.3 of a second between Kiss and Hahn. Top 3 very close indeed. Now 88, Ryan Smith, British truck racer. He goes into 4th place. Half a second covers the top 4. Certainly the driver who gets the truck the most sideways appears to be number 21, Norbert Kiss, giving chase to Adam Lacko. And in fact, it looks like he's backed off a little bit out of turn 2. Maybe it's just me getting used to the truck cornering lines. No, it looks a little bit gentle there, but then again, through the tighter corners in the truck, you've really got to watch what you're doing. But he has the fastest time so far, but it looks so any of the top 4 could be at the top of the top 4. Such are their times. And in fact, on that last lap, Jochen Hahn was the driver of truck number 1 who was fastest in 2 of the 3 sectors. 17 new entry to championship this weekend. Shane Brereton, another British driver. How effective is he? He's moved up to 9th place overall, but we're waiting for the top handful of runners to complete their second flying laps. Target time 2 minutes 18.389. Truck number 30, Sasha Lenz, Team Reinhardt Adventure. He's normally sort of, Lenz normally in the mix, normally just outside the top half dozen. Had a 3rd place at the Red Bull Ring at the start of the year. Form has deserted slightly. Lentz goes into 7th place overall. You can see there still Kiss from Hahn, from Stephanie Halm and Brett Smith. They're the top 4. 55, Adam Lacko. He's 1.3 seconds down, but he'll be the first of them to complete a second flying lap. It's really very much just a warm-up ahead of Superpole. And Superpole goes to the top 10 drivers. There are 15 drivers out there to play, so we will have to pair 5 off the bottom. Antonio Albacete, one of many ex-car racers, Norbert Kiss is coming in. He's happy his fastest time is good enough to get him into Superpole, but Antonio Albacete waiting to set a flying lap. Spanish Formula Renault champion back in 1981. 1982 he won the Iberian Formula Fiesta Championship, but he crossed over to truck racing quite some while ago after winning, and he won 3 European truck racing championships, so he's certainly got form, but he's only 15th out of 15 at the moment. He's way off the pace, 29, half a minute down, so clearly he was late onto the circuit, hasn't let's see what he can do on his second flying lap, but certainly Albacete expects better than we've seen from him so far. Yeah, he's been picking up. He's had a win, a second, a third, loads of 4th place finishes, in fact 2 second places, so he's got plenty of speed. So there's Antonio Albacete. Kicking that tail out. Best in spare parts, might need some spare parts, but very spectacular, beautifully covered there as it goes out down the hill, out of turn 3, into the dip, up the other side to turn 4. But top 4 runners in the pits, they're confident they're through to Superpole. They've just got to get in the top 10. 10th position at the moment is 2.3 seconds down on the ultimate pace, and more than half a second clear of the next runner. And at the moment it's truck number 42, Andre Kursim, one of many German racers who is holding that vital 10th position. And the driver just outside is truck 91, František Wojciech from the Czech Republic. Antonio Albacete, well, he set his fastest first sector. In fact, it's pretty much in the mix that time, so that should get him into the top 10. Checkered flag will come out at the end of this session. Be out before he gets there because it's being hung out now. He's still over the far side of the circuit, twisting through the sequence corners out of 6 and 7, the chicane, and through the slightly wider 8, 9, 10 out of 11, just coming out of 11, down the slope back towards the final 3 corners of the lap. And his middle sector, no surprise, an improvement as well. He should get into the top 10, so that should be it for Andre Kursim. He will miss out on Superpole unless something goes untowards for Antonio Albacete. He's left it late. Oh dear, a handful of trucks have had their best times cancelled for obviously running out over the curbs. 23.88, that has moved Ryan Smith down to 15th position. So he's another driver who's going not very well around this final lap. It looks like he's lost his chance. He was in the top 10 and now he's missing out. 23 about to cross the start-finish line. He should move into the top 10. Where does he go? Into ninth. Does it? Economy of motion. 1.8 seconds down on the ultimate pace. And that pushes Andre Kursim out. Can he fight back? Number 91 is having a go. That's Wojciech. He is down in 12th place. I don't think he's done enough. No, he hasn't improved his time. And he's back right off. 88, can he fight back? This is Ryan Smith, who had his best time taken away from him. I think his middle sector time didn't look too wonderful. I don't think that's going to see him in the top. No, he stays 15th and last, so he'll be cursing the fact he ran out wide. Truck number 19, also outside the top 15. And Dominique Orsini stays in 14th place. So a lot of rumbling. Top 6 already sitting confidently in the pit lane. Number 17, Shane Brereton. Well, he is in the top 10. He might improve marginally. Doesn't really matter too much if he does or doesn't. He's into the top 10. He stays in the top 10. He stays in 8th place. And I think we've pretty much had everybody complete their flying lap or reporting back to the pit. So, local hero Norbert Kiss, top from Jochen Hahn. Stephanie Halm in 3rd place. Adam Lacko in 4th. And we didn't talk too much about truck number 33, another Czech racer, David Brasecki, driver of many, many moons of experience. 2008 and 2009 European truck racing champion. And just in case you missed it, another multiple champion in the field is, of course, Antonio Albacete. 2005, 2006 and 2010, he was the main man on the European racing team. But Jochen Hahn, who's second fastest, he is the reigning champion. He also won the title, the European Truck Racing Championship title, in 2011, 2012 and 2013. And in between those victories, 2014, 2015, it's the driver top of the charts, Norbert Kiss. So he's got the advantage going into Superpole, and he very much would fancy bagging some more wins here on home ground at the Hungaroring. Norbert's actually picked up 2 wins last time out at Slovakia Ring, but no other wins earlier in the season, so he's coming sweet for his home race, getting the timing absolutely right. But his chief rival, Adam Lacko, 1.3 seconds down, but this was free practice. The really serious element comes straight after this when we get to the Superpole. It's going to be fast. It's going to be... There is the position, very tight at the top, really. But this wasn't the one that counted. The session that follows does. But Norbert Kiss, well, he's got the Hungarian flags waving out around the circuit. Fastest, 2 minutes 18.389. Don't forget, these are 5.3 ton trucks, 1,000 horsepower and more. Spectacular, and going as fast as they can around the corners. Stephanie Harm been doing a great job. She has just over a third of the second down in 3rd place. Adam Lacko, championship leader, 1.3 seconds down. But expect fireworks from him in the 55 Freightliner. David Brasecki, another Czech driver, tucked in behind him in 5th place overall. And Erwin Klein-Nagelfort, Dutch racer, didn't get to start that session. Dominique Orsini didn't set a flying lap, but we saw him out right at the end of the session, just completing a 1 run around the circuit. But Superpole is coming up for the top 10. So the final place in that order going to the driver of truck number 27, which is Gerhard Korber, another German racer in his Iveco. So the last couple of trucks just running their way from the paddock. You can see them in the background behind the buildings, snaking their way down, and they then run on into the pit lane. They come down onto the track, and then they nip into the pit lane through the entry. They come the back way out of the paddock, come into the pit lane. And there is number 42, which is the truck that... of Andre Kursim that just missed out on Superpole. By my reckoning, he ended up in 11th place, but he's reporting to the pits behind truck number 27, Gerhard Korber, who, unless some more times were confiscated, no, 42's been told he's not required, as I suspected, unless he's come in as a reserve. But anyhow, he's going back into the paddock. Nice try. number 17, British racer Shane Brereton. He was 8th fastest. KC Transport, one of many mans in the race.
Shane Brereton kamionját láthatják 17-es arcszámmal.
So, first 10 drivers from Q1. 10 minutes, and the fastest qualifying run so far, or practice run of a 2:18, means they're not going to have a whole host of choices of laps. They're going to have to make their, probably effectively got 2 flying laps within that time to really, really make it count. So not so much traffic with 10 trucks that they're going to trip over each other, or maybe they do. It's funny how vehicles on circuit seem to be magnetically attracted, but a very technical circuit here at the Hungaroring. And certainly it's going to be absolutely key to see who can make the best lap, take the pole position. Slovakia Ring, not a very different track to the Nürburgring that went before it. Misano, tight and twisty, and the Red Bull Ring, plenty of gradient. Not so much gradient for them to play with here at the Hungaroring, but certainly enough to keep them interested. 33 degrees air temperature near us can be, wind speed negligible, so it's hot, relatively humid, but conditions not too bad at all as the trucks go out. So the clock will have started as the trucks go around. Get a bit of a rumble on. They're trying to get the heat back into their tyres. They've lost a little bit. 24 leading the way around. Norbert Kiss tucked in behind Jochen Hahn. 44, third truck, Stephanie Harm. So he'll be running in number order. The order in which they finish that practice session is the order in which they're going out. Into turn 2, there's truck 44. Haven't seen so much of that one, which is Stephanie Harm. Stephanie raced single-seaters in the early 21st century, raced in the 24-hour races, Dubai, Nürburgring, and raced Porsches, but 2011 she crossed the Great Divide and came over to truck racing and has been doing a fantastic job. This year in particular, she took a victory at Slovakia Ring last time out, victory and pole position, one of the races at Red Bull Ring at the start of the season. So good form, consistent form, but a driver who could do no wrong in the middle season is the driver of 55, Adam Lecker. He won 5 races in a row. He's driving Freightliner. There's a Mercedes 24, Norbert Kiss. Big Mercedes presence in the paddock. Truck number 1, Jochen Hahn. Don't forget, multiple champion and reigning champion. That's why he's got number 1 on his Iveco. So it's all about getting the brakes up to temperature. Pneumatic brakes, clearly on all 4 corners with lots of fail-safe systems. If you lose it on one corner, there are enough valves to shunt it across the other, so you have got some retardation. With these trucks weighing 5.3 tons, there's plenty to stop. So now the drivers, you see we've already had a quarter of this session, this run. 7 and a bit minutes, the checkered flag will come out. These trucks running close enough. They've probably done the maths to work out how many flying laps they can get in. But do you want to be that close to the trucks up ahead of you, or do you want to get yourself a little space? Maybe space is a luxury that Sasha Lenz doesn't have. He's got nobody behind him. He could afford to drop back a little bit, but he's right on the tail of a 5-truck train and leading the way around. 7 minutes remaining till the checkered flag. In pole position to take pole position, if you will, Norbert Kiss. Wait for the cheer if he can take that pole position in this super pole for the FIA European Truck Racing Championship. You can see the Hungarian flag next to his name. That's why the klaxons are going as he powers past my commentary position down the start finish line. It's flat and then it starts dropping just past the end of the yellow wall down to turn 1. Just where he wants to be. In fact, the trucks have given themselves a bit more space. They've eked a little bit of space between themselves. Second and third are relatively close, but the driver in 4th place seems to have given himself enough space that he won't be interrupted, and nobody to interrupt the driver of the Mercedes truck and number 24. That's Norbert Kiss, Hungarian racer on home ground here at the Hungaroring. Nice tight run through the exit of turn 2, gets it right on the entrance to turn 3, didn't run too wide, also didn't try and cut it too tight. He kept that momentum, let it flow to the outside of the circuit. Down the dip he goes. Now, considering what happens at turn 4, tough corner, brakes hard on tyre smoke and then flinging the truck. You can see how much movement these chassis have because it's a tricky corner. Much better entry view in a truck than it is in a racing car, almost blind in a racing car to turn 4. Obviously sitting up high you can see a whole host more. You can see over the barriers on the inside of the circuit. Again, puffs of tyre smoke as he brakes really hard. Now, in my experience of truck racing, how good are the brakes for a really, really hard lappery like this? Can they manage 1 or 2 laps? Absolutely abusing them, or do they have to be careful? Clearly the races are rather longer, half-an-hour races. But right now, getting absolute most out of his truck, and you can see how hard he's accelerating, using all the grunt, 1,000 horsepower and more, and absolutely flinging it around. Norbert Kiss on the top of his form, being chased very hard indeed by 4-time champion, reigning champion Jochen Hahn. Again, the different makes of trucks. It's a Mercedes-Benz from Iveco. And in the background, Stephanie Harm in her man. So 3 different makes of truck in a row. Then you've got the gap back to the very different looking Freightliner with a great big snout with Adam Lacko. Fastest middle sector of the circuit. It's the man at the front of the train, the driver of truck number 24. It's Norbert Kiss. There he is. He's negotiated turn 13 up to turn 14. Keeps it as tight as he can. I think that's fairly good because he's tightening as he goes around onto the exit. Shouldn't be running too wide over the curbs. That looks very tidy indeed. Curb and a half, you could call it. So what's the target time? The target time about to be set, 2 minutes 18.5. They were close to that pace, but now he's on his second flying lap, and I think this is the one where the sweet time will come, unless really their tyres are good only for one super flying lap. But I think in truck racing you need tyres that last that little bit longer, and I'm sure that's what they've been provided with. But it's Kiss from Hahn by 0.8 of a second, and then Stephanie Harm, who's third in that run, another 8 seconds. Well, in fact, Hahn, Halm and Lacko covered by a blink of an eye. 1 minute, 2 minutes 19.3, 2 minutes 19.3, 2 minutes 19.3. But unfortunately for them, Norbert Kiss is at 2 minutes 18.5. So he's 8/10 clear of the trio who are chasing them. Then 1.7 seconds back is David Vrasecki, champion of yesteryear. But he's going well again, up into 5th place. Again, Antonio Albacete has just waiting for him to complete his first flying lap. Here it comes now. He seems to have had a very slow middle sector. Maybe he's decided he's good for one really serious flying lap, and it's the second flying lap. You can see that middle sector was awful. Most of the trucks were doing it in 50 seconds. He did it in 72 seconds. But now he has completely clear track ahead of him, and let's see what he can manage. He's slowest of the top 10. He's 34 seconds off the ultimate pace. All seem to go in that middle sector. Don't think he had a spin, but maybe it's a tactic Spaniard has decided to employ. Clock's beaten down to less than 3 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. The Superpole shootout. Truck in front appears to have pulled off the racing line, is out of the way. That's number 27. That's Gerhard Korbert. No problem at all. I don't think it compromised Albacete's entrance to turn number 2. No, he's tidy in, slightly wide on the exit. Maybe he wanted to be over to the further to the right of the track before he turned into turn 2. But he couldn't chop over the nose of Gerhard Korbert in 27 too much. Well, we'll see when the screen times come up. But Norbert Kiss holding the advantage in Mercedes at number 24. Albacete there trying to fight his way up the order, but he's 23rd and last. As he comes around the circuit. No excuses, that truck looking absolutely fantastic. Truck Sport burnout. Gosh, you can see the movement of these great big man racing trucks over the curbs. They really do. I wonder what it feels like from the cockpit. From the outside you can see how much body movement there is, but up top you really must feel yourself bouncing around. So strapped in firmly, no bouncy truck driver seats for these drivers, absolutely bolted in firmly in full racing seats, and you really must feel you're rocking a long way over when you're sitting up top. Norbert Kiss, second lap. Well, the truth of the matter is they do the one sweet flying lap. Their 2 minutes 18s are being followed by 2 minutes 50s, 51. So there's an answer to my question. You can really cane it hard for one lap, or did they back off knowing they've got one more sweet lap in them? Because with just over 1 minute on the clock, the lap they've started now will be their last lap. But none of the top runners improving on that second lap. Through the final corner comes the driver who's 10th and slowest in this Superpole the shootout. Antonio Albacete, a driver with immaculate pedigree in cars and in trucks, and he goes up into 5th place. So the top 5 trucks now covered by 1.27 seconds. So the speed was there. Albacete, the man to deliver, but now back to see, are we getting better times? Oh, not from Norbert Kiss in his first sector, but Jochen Hahn, multiple champion, reigning champion, in 2nd place. He set his fastest first sector. So look for the number 1 truck. There it is to close in on the 24. 30 seconds remaining until the checkered flag will come out. So it doesn't look as though Norbert Kiss is treating this as an enormously serious lap, because he's 8/10 quicker than the rest, but Jochen Hahn fancying his chances, or maybe because he knows 3rd and 4th are so close behind him, he's just got to get a move on. Jochen Hahn pressing on, 44 also pressing on. Not much between them on this lap, and a 1/10 of a second gain by Hahn in number 1 over Steffi Harm in 44, who's tucked in behind, and also matching their pace is Adam Lacko in 55. Looking for the 2nd sector time to come up from Norbert Kiss, who's leading the train. His first sector time wasn't good. Is his 2nd sector time coming up shortly? But the grouping behind him, 1, 44 and 55, all matching each other's times. Coming to the end of the 2nd sector. 1 has backed off. 44 has backed off. So they realise they haven't done enough to catch. And 30 is pressing on. That's Sasha Lenz. He was at the back of that queue. Worked his way forward. He's down in 7th position overall. This looks a pretty tidy lap from him, but he needs to improve. 1.8 seconds down on the ultimate pace. He may be able to squeak a few tenths, but he needs to. I think the only person he might possibly pass is the driver who's sitting at the pits, David Vrasecki, in 6th place. So can Sasha Lenz, the German racer, work his way up to the front? Son of a multiple European Cup champion, that's Heinz-Werner Lenz, and Sasha doesn't improve. Close to his best, but it does seem the first flying lap would be the sweet flying lap. Oh, that is why the time was lost by Norbert Kiss. We knew he was about 3 seconds down in the first sector. Well caught on that replay. Well, great camera work down and at turn 2. You must start to worry when a big truck runs off the track and is coming towards you. But thereafter, Norbert Kiss backed off, but he's taken that pole position. 2 minutes 18.5 for Norbert Kiss, top of the chart. So the home crowd will be delighted with that. And on pole by 8/10 of a second. Jochen Hahn gave a bit of a charge to the early part of his next flying lap, but sort of worked out it wasn't going to happen for him. And very, very close. Just worth reiterating, Hahn, Halm and Lacko covered by less than 1/10 of a second. There you can see it. They're 8/10 off the pace of Norbert Kiss, our pole man, the local hero. 2 minutes 18.5 in the next 3 trucks in the 2 minute 19.3s. So Mercedes, Iveco, MAN, Freightliner. Look at that variety of manufacturer. And Antonio Albacete, he had to do it rather late on, but vaulted his way back up, showing the form of a former multiple champion to go into 5th place. Just moving ahead of Shane Brereton, who's made quite a splash here at the Hungaroring, pushing back David Vrasecki, former champion, in his Freightliner. And Sasha Lenz had that charge at the end, didn't quite come off, as Shane Brereton made that late move into 6th place. But there's the top 10. Gerhard Korber bringing up the rear just behind Jose Rodriguez. So they've been entertaining. They're going to be coming back out on the track very soon, because it's a busy, busy meeting for the truck racing heroes. But the Hungarian fans have got the driver they want on pole position. He's driving a Mercedes. He's called Norbert Kiss, and he's from Hungary, leading the way.